Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Pretty cool space.
Thank you.
So what, is this like your dream studio? Did you build this?
I didn't build it. Now this got built in the mid-90s, but I did a lot of recording here.
So before you bought it, you recorded here?
Yeah, a lot of stuff on all the albums from Golden Road all the way forward.
So in that case, is it like you're waiting for it to go for sale? Since
I couldn't believe it was for sale, put it that way, you know, and buying it I felt like I bought my school. That's what it felt like.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
But also awesome, because then you're the ruler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I think for me, your origin story is really interesting, especially when you come to Nashville. Like, when you move to Nashville, like, where do you live? What kind of place do you live? Like, for a new artist moving here, like, small apartment?
Well, weirdly enough, the first place that I stayed with my manager when we came here, the very first trip, we stayed over the road at Shoney's Inn, which is now Comfort Inn. And the room that we stayed in is literally right there. And it's crazy to walk out the door of this studio and look over and see that room that my manager and I stayed in on the first trip. And to go from there to here is mind-boggling.
So why do you say you and your manager, you guys came together here?
Yeah.
What was that relationship?
I made a little demo tape that we just got on a plane and came over here. We really didn't know anybody. We just did the classic thing of walking up and down 16th and 17th Ave and going in and seeing if they'd let us play them my little cassette demo.
So you record a cassette of songs. How many songs do you think? Just guessing.
Maybe 5 or 6 songs that I'd written.
And you felt strongly enough about it that we're going to go to Nashville. He felt strongly enough about you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of trust into a person too, by the way. Like, as a manager going, I trust this guy, like, this is my guy. You fly here, you're staying at the Shoney's Inn.
Yeah.
For what do you think a night? How much?
Oh, more than we could afford at the time. I mean, we spent everything we had on the plane ticket, you know.
Paying nightly rent, and then how do you do it? Again, you're knocking on doors, but what doors do you knock on if you don't know what doors are important?
Anybody that would listen, we would play it for, and I was so proud of it, you know, and thought, oh, I can't wait for everybody to hear this. It was terrible. In hindsight, it was just terrible. You know, what do I know, you know? But played it for people that would listen to it, and it was all very much like, no, thanks, but, you know. So it was really heartbreaking, you know. It was just soul-sucking, but I went, anyway, I want to be here, I want to live here. Let's go, let's go.
When you say let's go, do you go back?
Yeah, so I was only it was really hard to get visas back then, and I couldn't legally stay longer than, you know, a certain period of time. I couldn't make any money here, not legally, so I could come for a couple of weeks, try and get with people to write, and then I'd have to go back to Australia. And I was doing little shows at corner pubs or wherever I could on my own solo to just stock money away so I could then get another plane ticket, come back, and just keep doing this back and forward forever.
How long did you go back and forth?
I don't know, 2-3 years, something like that. I would come over for a couple of weeks and write with some people and then go back and come back over. But I was staying in a hotel, probably down here at the Shoney's, I think still, and this guy who was an engineer at one of the publishing places I went to, he said, listen, I live on my own, I got a spare room at my house if you want to stay there instead of a hotel. So I stayed at his house. And when I left to go back to Australia, I left a bunch of clothes in the drawer. And he called me, he goes, hey, you left some stuff here. And I said, yeah, I'll be back. Because I wanted to feel like I was moving in. So I was in Australia thinking, I've got clothes in Nashville. Like it was like saying I have a place there, you know.
Or you left a toothbrush at somebody you're dating's house, so now you know.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to go back.
Exactly.
So the more you would come over, and it's a pretty intimidating place because you're coming to, I mean, where you are, there's music. Where everybody is, there's music, and you're kind of king dingling, and then you get here and you're like, wow, the giants are here. Did that motivate you to get better, or did it more inspire you to get here so you could be around it to grow into it?
All the above. I knew when I got here, I just wanted to be here. All the best are here. All the best guitar players are here. All the best songwriters are here. The best producers, the best everybody is here. So I just wanted to get here and get going. I knew it was going to take a while, and I just wanted to get going, you know.
When did you get your first piece of positive feedback?
Monday, just last Monday.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad it's happened.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
Finally.
I'm rooting for you, yeah.
It's all incremental, you know. It's I'm sure you got a similar experience where it's just just one good enough thing happens that you just hang in there. I mean, I didn't have option B anyway. I mean, I had no other plan. Nothing. It never occurred to me to go back to Australia. That was never part of the thinking ever. It was just, well, stay here until something happens.
When you look back at that tape that you made, and now, you know, anything that creators make a long time ago, hopefully it makes us cringe because that means we've grown, right? Like that's the goal. Anything I do, I want to like cringe at something I did 2 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But when you look back at that, what can you still identify as special about that?
I think I had a good intrinsic sense of melodic structure for songwriting, and I think people recognize that here. So I was able to get in with really good songwriters pretty early on, and I think even though my voice needed a lot of work, there was some good fundamentals in particularly commercial songwriting, you know, hook choruses and catchy melodies and things like that.
Songwriting is interesting because you're coming from a place where my assumption is, based on other conversations, there's not a lot of co-writes. Like the co-write is really learned in Nashville. So were you writing songs by yourself and then having to learn the Nashville co-write culture when you're here?
Yeah, it was, then I signed a publishing deal. It was a very small income for me, which was perfect. It's all I needed. I didn't need much to live on. And I had a really crappy rental car, and I would drive down to Music Row from this guy's house that I was living at every day, 5 days a week, and walk into this, you know, windowless room with 2 yellow legal pads and a couple of acoustics and try and write a song with a total stranger. And it was, I hated it, like hated it. It felt, I hated going to school, but this was even worse. I don't know why, it was just like, I just felt so insecure, so out of my depth. You know, I'm writing with these professional writers and I don't know what I'm doing. And it was not inspiring. I was used to having a drum machine, writing with a bit of a groove, getting a vibe going, and that would inspire the way I write songs, and nobody wrote like that. It was literally legal pads and an acoustic and windowless room. And I'm like, how do you write in here? What? There's no vibe, you know? But from that experience, I think I learned a lot about songs, even more about song structure and how to write a song that isn't vibe-based, but it actually has the bones of a good song.
Do you feel like those experiences, writing in an environment that you weren't completely comfortable, not because of the people, but because of what you were used to and also where you did your best work, do you feel like that also helped you understand where you did write the best and how you wrote the best? Because again, you're in a room with no windows and you're like, okay, I'm learning here, but it kind of reinforced the idea of you like to write with a vibe, you like to write with a machine, and so therefore you knew where you'd be the best?
Spot on. That's exactly what it did. It reinforced how I don't want to write or how I can't write. It's not don't want to, it's like, it's not bringing out the best in me, you know? It's not inspiring me. I feel intimidated, I feel suffocated, and I can't write like this. And I think a lot of it was to do with, you know, I think the foundation of country songwriting is lyric. The melody seems to always come second. The lyric is key, the story is important, that's what's important. And I was coming from it the other way, where the melody and the hooks and the riffs, those were driving the story and everything else. So I just had to find my environment and way of writing, and people that also love to write that way.
Do you feel like now when you write with people that you know are feeling a bit of the same intimidation from writing with you, you can remember that version of yourself?
Oh, yeah.
And kind of help them through it?
Totally. I neutralize the situation immediately. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen today. Maybe nothing, but let's just jam a bit. Let's have fun. Have you got any ideas? I guess, you know, zero, no pressure, no expectation. You know, maybe we write, maybe we don't. Maybe we just go to lunch. Doesn't matter. Maybe we just hang today, and that will end up creating a song the next time we get together because we know each other better.
You have a publishing deal, and you said it paid you a little, enough to get by.
Yeah.
Did you have any success in your first publishing deal? When did you start to have success as a writer? I had to record my own songs to get them cut to the degree that, because I wasn't a professional writer. It wasn't what I came here to do. I didn't come here to be a writer.
I was an artist, but I could write.
And that was the first way to make money too, right? Like
Yeah.
a steady check at least?
Yeah, it was a steady check, and it was a way for songs to maybe get cut by other people, and a few little cuts here and there, you know. Like we wrote a song, my buddy and I wrote a song, a Christmas song that Toby Keith ended up recording on an album. I was completely unknown, because this is the early 90s. And I heard that he cut this song we wrote, and I was like, the song was called Jesus Gets Jealous of Santa Claus, right? So, and it's a really beautiful song. It's all about the anti-commercialism of it, right? And so we wrote it. He loved it, cut it. I was amazed because, I mean, Toby is a great writer. I'd never met him. I was down in Lower Broadway one night at a bar, and this is long before Lower Broadway is what it is now. And like nobody went down there. I'm in this bar, and I look over at the table and I see Toby. I'm like, no way, that's Toby Keith. Man, I'm gonna go up and say hi, because I got a way to introduce myself now. And I went over and said, Toby, my name's Keith Urban. I think you cut one of our songs. He goes, huh? I went, you recorded one of our songs, you know, Jesus Gets Jealous. He goes, oh yeah, man. And I went, thanks for recording it. You know, did you like the song? He goes, we cut it. And I went, yeah, no, thank you. That's amazing. But you're a great writer. I just wondered, did you love the song? He goes, we cut it, man. And then he just looked back at his drink, and I was like, okay, moving on. Years later, I got to know him, and I told him that story. He's like, man, I'm so sorry. You know, like, he couldn't have been nice, and we became really, really good friends.
The first time I met Toby, I said, Toby, how's it going? He said, first time I met him, and we, again, became friends. He said, Google me.
How's it going? Google me.
Yes.
Love it.
And I said,
Love it.
okay, what am I going to find? My health and how much money I have.
Oh my God,
and
that's
I was
awesome.
like, what is up with this dude?
Yeah.
Later on, same.
Yeah.
Later on, I did a lot with Toby. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience too with him. He was very no nonsense, how he felt.
Yep.
It's funny talking about just going to a bar and seeing Toby Keith sitting there. I mean, I think that's kind of the magic of this town. And a lot of the stories that I have are from people who just like see you walking around the mall. Like most of them, like I saw Keith Urban outside of Forever 21. He didn't go in, but like I saw your wife out in a makeup store.
Yeah.
I was in there.
And what were you doing in there? Yeah.
Just a little, just a little. What about this town to you?
Anyway, enough there.
Yeah, what about this town is magical?
Everything is. It's just the people. It's this hub. It's the one thing I miss a little bit about Music Row not being what it was. You know, it got decentralized. It kind of just went off into all these people's homes with personal recording studios and various things, and people didn't have to concentrate on the Row as much anymore. And it's sort of a bit sad because Nashville is such a community. And I think that cross-pollinating and enmeshing with artists, songwriters, publishers, managers, everybody intersecting all the time was really healthy.
What got you your first traction as the person you came here to be an artist?
Again, it was all little incremental things. The publishing company I signed to was run by a guy called Barry Coburn, and he was managing Alan Jackson at the time. So in 1994, Alan was shooting a music video, and they needed a long-haired guitar player, and so they asked me to do it. And it's a similar Toby story.
Wait, in the video?
I'm in the
but you didn't
video.
play on the song.
No, but I'm in the video to Mercury Blues.
One of my favorite Alan Jackson songs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, videos.
Yeah,
One of my favorite videos.
All the above,
Yes, yes.
all the above. So it's a similar story to the Toby thing. Like I didn't know Alan. I was so excited. You know, we're in a soundstage somewhere, and I'm on this platform, and I've learned Brent Mason's guitar solo note for note the night before because they're going to be zooming in on me, and they film me for a little bit, and then I see Alan come in. I'm like, oh my God, it's Alan Jackson. This is so freaking awesome. I mean, it's 1994. He's king, you know. And he comes over with his acoustic, and he kind of just looks at me, and he looks back at the camera, and then they run the song, and we both shred together. We're literally 2 feet from each other. And they take a little break to set some lights, whatever. And I'm waiting for him to say something, and he just looks around at me and goes, looks back at me, never said a word to me, like not one word. We finished the thing, and he just walked off, and I was like, oh, And I went home and my buddies were like, what was Alan like? I go, I didn't really meet him. And they go, I thought there was a thing with the tour video. I said, yeah, no, never met him. You know. And again, got to know Alan years later. And he's like, man, I'm so sorry because I hated that video. He said, you got to understand, it's the first video I'd done where they brought in some slick LA producer, director. I didn't want to do it, but they wanted to sort of change my image and make it look slick. So they said, we can't use your band. And he goes, I always use my band. What do you mean? And they go, no, we have to use these other people to pretend to be your band, me, right? You know. So he hated it. Obviously hated this long-haired dude who's not his guitar player. So I totally got it. And we've become really, really good friends since then, too.
That's so funny about Alan. The first time I met him, not a video, but ACM Honors was doing a show, and I was doing like one funny song with the guitar. I was talking, and it was after like Jake Owen was playing, and I was doing a thing, and Alan Jackson was behind me, but it was raining. So they're moving everybody along. And they paused, and I saw Alan Jackson. I'd never seen him before. And I was like, this is crazy, Alan Jackson. And I said, hey, Mr. Jackson, Bobby Bones, nice to meet you. He said, nice to meet you. And I looked at him, he goes, all right then. And that meant go away. Later, awesome, but he hit me with the all right then.
It's great.
And away I went.
It's great.
And this
We got
sounds
the same experiences with all these people.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then again, we find out how friggin' cool they are later,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think that's a bit of my point too. Is people are getting first impressions of you today all the time in the same way, but because you got to live the full experience. Same way I asked you about songwriting. Like there are probably a lot of new artists that you meet a lot of the time, and that ask you, hey, what advice do you have for somebody like moving to town or a new artist? Like, what is the standard Keith Urban advice for a new artist?
Well, it's always different because the whole thing is changing constantly, you know? It's like you don't have 20 years experience, you have 1 year's experience 20 times. That's very different because it's constantly changing. So, you know, what I had to do when I got here, you don't have to do that now. There's like so many other ways to find an audience, to make music, to write songs, to get them cut. There's just so many ways to do it now. So it makes it better on one hand, but on the other, there's way more competition. It's just, you're sort of drowning in it now. There's so much new talent.
Tell me about signing your first record deal.
Well, my first one was signed in Australia. I signed it because I won it. I won a competition where I got to record a single for EMI Records. And I did that, and they liked it. And so they said, let's do a whole album. So I did a whole album. But I already wanted to come here, you know. So recording it to me was just a way to have an even better demo to bring over here. But I had some success with it in Australia and got a band and worked my way up to having a road crew. This is after 8-9 years in the clubs already. So now I've worked my way up to this 5-piece band, 3-man road crew, got merchandise. I'm like, this is great. I got an album, songs on the radio, like everything I've ever wanted. And but I really wanted to go to America. And so after all that work, I come here and you just start from the bottom again. Literally, nobody cares. You can't bring your band. I have no money. So I'm right back to ground zero and starting to pay dues all over again. It was another 5, 6, 7 years here in Nashville.
Until you got a deal?
Yeah.
And what was the first single they ever wanted to put out on you?
Well, technically it was with my band, The Ranch, and so we did a song called Walk in the Country, and we did a video. We had so little money for the budget that we recorded 2 videos in one day.
Only so much time, so you got to cram them both in.
I think it was like 15, might have been 10 grand or something, and we shot 2 videos. We went out to a place called Adams, Tennessee. We went to this abandoned kind of street where the stores were all boarded up. We put the camera in the street, aimed at the stores. We stood in front of there and shot that video. They turned the camera around, and we did our other song on the other side in this, where they'd torn down a building and we played in the rubble. So, you know, we shot it all in one day. It's crazy.
What was the success of the singles you put out early with The Ranch?
The critics really liked it, but it didn't get any real push. I mean, radio didn't know what to do with us, you know.
Because of the sound?
Yeah, the sound and the look, and they're just like, what is this 3-piece band, and who's this long-haired guy? And I look back at it now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, what were we thinking? We were never gonna fit in. We weren't going to fit in. And I was frustrated because I didn't come here to be in a band, you know. The three-piece thing happened because I had a five-piece band in Australia. I couldn't afford to bring everybody. So, okay, what's the minimum I can bring? Well, as a guitar player, I can bring bass and drums. And then I got a band. Okay, three-piece, great. I'll bring my bass player and drummer. They were the two guys in the band that didn't sing. My keyboard player and rhythm guitarist sang. So I'm here in a three-piece band, the singer, no harmonies. I'm like, man, this is not going to work. And then my bass player left, got a singing bass player, and we became this three-piece band because of economic reasons. It wasn't an artistic choice.
When you're finally Keith Urban, what was the first piece of material or song that you put out that actually gains real traction? Or that sells tickets or got you on a tour, right? Like you put something out that somebody noticed you enough that it changed your life. What song was that?
Well, I mean, technically the first one was a song called It's a Love Thing, which was the first single off the solo album that I did. That did okay. And then we put out a song called Where the Blacktop Ends, and that did better. Sorry, You're Everything. It was a ballad called You're Everything. That did better. And then the third song was But for the Grace of God, which became my first #1 song. So it was this very slow, incremental movement. I'm like, okay, we finally got traction. And then we did Blacktop after that. And then I got to make another record, which became Golden Road. And first single off that was Somebody Like You.
Was that song transcendent in how it landed as opposed to your past stuff?
Yeah. Because I'm a live guy, I play live, that's what I do. The early years in Nashville was so hard for me because I wasn't playing anywhere. I found out very quick that if you play down Lower Broadway, nobody wants to sign you because they go, well, you're just one of those, you're just a cover band. You're not an original artist, you know. So I'm like, so I can't even play anywhere. So after the first solo record, I got to put a band together and tour and get back into my place where I feel so at home. And I think by the time we made Golden Road, I was feeling that sense of who I am musically. You know, I like to say that record had more stubble than the first one. It was a bit looser and it was more raw, and I had more confidence in the studio of making the music that I wanted to make, not what was on the radio or anything like that. And it turned out to be the music that was the right music.
Did you ever have concern of being pigeonholed as just a guitar guy?
No, I never had that. Because I always see myself as a duet. I mean, my guitar and my singing, they go together. Same way with Glenn Campbell or something like that. It's just, or Vince Gill or anybody. It's, for me, the two go together. But even more than those guys, because they have these voices, and I think me and my guitar are one.
I pay a lot of attention to your tone, and not your voice tone, like your guitar tone. And even the slightest change changes the sound of the song. How much time do you spend focused on tone?
It depends. You know, sometimes every song's different. Every song's different. I'm only seeking inspiration. That's all I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for a sound or a tone or something where I'm inspired to play something. And that could be through a cheap amp. And you could have dialed it up immediately and you go, this sounds good, let's go. Play a solo and you go, good, that was great, moving on. And then the next song, you spend a whole day noodling and doing this and whatever. So they're all different.
What song that became a massive hit took the longest to actually have fully done?
Oh, gosh.
Maybe rewrites, maybe re-recording.
Yeah, weirdly enough, Making Memories of Us took a long time because I grew up with Don Williams records and they were so simple. There was nothing on them. They're so simple. And when we cut Making Memories, it had a Don vibe in its structure in the recording, and I wanted to get that minimalism. And we recorded it and it was sort of like this, and then we spent a long time stripping it down, replaying the guitar, re-singing it, trying to make it more and more simple. Less slick, just more singer-songwriter.
Is there a moment where you go, this is it? Or is there never a moment where you go, this is it?
Both. I mean, I've heard songs on the radio where I go, oh, I'm very happy with that. You know, I hear somebody like you now. I still am really happy with that. Days go by, things like that. And then I'll hear other things. I go, oh, I wish we had of, you know, whatever. But more than anything, I'm happy with it. You just got to get away from it for a while, have some perspective.
You're still so creatively driven. Today, I guess the first time I met you 10 years ago, like I still feel like you're creatively chasing whatever it is that inspires you. Do you still feel as creatively driven now as you did 10, 20 years ago?
Exactly the same. As when I lived over there at Shoney's, I feel pretty much the same. I got a better group of people I can write with and work with, and I have more capacity and facility to create the things that I hear in my head, you know, from years and years of doing it. But the adrenaline rush and the excitement of writing and creating something like Straight Line, which is the single we have out now, when that comes in the studio, it's like, it's an amazing feeling.
The opposite of the question I asked a minute ago, what song fell out of you and was done the quickest? And you're like, wow, that's great, and it took almost no time.
Somebody Like You was a bit like that because it was a great band. It's the very first song I'd done with Dan Huff. I think the bones of the song just happened to be really good. And we recorded it at the Sound Kitchen, everybody on the floor. So Chris McHugh was here on drums, Jimmy Lee Sloas is here on bass, Tom Bukovac's there on guitar, Tim Akers there on keyboards. I'm in the booth over there with banjo and a vocal. And Dan Huff is sitting in the middle of the floor with an electric guitar. And Justin E. Banker's in there and he hits record. And away we go. I've got a recording somewhere. I used to set up a video camera in the studio, in the control booth, and just capture a take, you know. And I have the recording of us. You hear the song start, you hear it finish, and you see Justin go, whoa, like this in front of the console. And it's the end of it's the take. It was crazy.
There are stories about AC/DC and Angus, and he would play so hard for so long, he'd sweat so much that he would lose 5-7 pounds a night, right? Because he would go, like my version of that I tell people is you watching you perform, because you go so hard and you're so active on stage, singing, playing, running into the crowd. Is there a ramp-up period for you getting in shape before you have to go on the road? Because these are very active shows.
Yeah. I think we're the same. We like being in decent shape anyway, just to do the things we want to do, you know? Move the way we want to move, and do the things we want to do, and I live to play. I really do.
Is that still your favorite part of all of it, live?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I love being in the studio, so I bought this studio. I could spend months in here, never leave, you know? I don't have any other hobbies or interests. I love making music. It's pretty much it. I don't play any sport, not really. I love writing, recording. I love touring. Yeah.
So recently you did a project and you recorded, and then you decided, we're going to start over after putting significant time in. Will you just kind of tell me that story?
That's never happened before. So really since the first record, the way I make them is quite, it's not chaotic, but it's very spontaneous, you know. The studio's booked, we've got the players booked, got a song chosen to do. I'll drive in that day, and maybe as I'm driving in, I'm like, I don't really feel this song. I have this other song that I'm sitting on, or it's half written or something, and I'll play it for Dan, and I go, let's do this one. And just forget that. So I've always made records that way. So the spirit of it is always what I want to do. You know what I mean? So it's got that. It's now. It's fun. I'm passionate about it. It's what I want to do. And I thought, well, sometimes my records sort of go off in weird musical directions, and maybe I need more discipline and make a focused record. So I went in with this idea that I was going to make a much more focused record, call it 615, and it'll be very focused, and it'll be only this and only that, and blah, 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 you know. And I ended up with this record that was pretty linear. It just sort of did this. It didn't have all the stuff, the spontaneity. It just didn't have the spontaneity and the spark and the spirit. So I scrapped it, and the first song we wrote was Straight Line, which bursts with all that rhythmic spirit and liberation, because I'd just come out of this attempt that didn't work at all. And I'm like, that's, to your point earlier about writing songs, you learn what you don't want to do. And I learned why I don't make records that way. It's just much more fun for me to be spontaneous.
In that process, and we'll call it the linear part of this journey, did you ever feel like, this isn't feeling right? Or were you done with it and you're like, man, this didn't capture really what I want to capture? When did that happen where you had to evaluate, hey, we may do this again?
When I was sequencing it, and I get it, sequencing, what does it matter anymore? Who listens to albums top to bottom, But sometimes sequencing for me is the way to decide what even makes it onto an album. The sequencing kind of tells me, well, you don't need that one. And this one over here that I was leaving off would actually go good right there. So that one does make sense. So when I started sequencing these songs, that was when I realized, oh, there's a lot of very similar sounding songs here, I was touring at the time, so I was sort of recording sporadically. I'd come off the road, we'd cut one song. We'd be like, fantastic, sounds great. You go out and tour for a few weeks, come back, cut another song. Oh, that's great, blah, blah, without thinking, you put all these together, you're not going to want it. That's what happened.
When we look at the ACMs, you're one of the few to do it, the Triple Crown, to hit 1, 2, 3. When you move here, the goal's probably just to eat and pay the bills.
Yeah.
But now that you look back and you have, one of the few things that any country music artist has, the Triple Crown, like, can you look back at old Keith and be proud of him?
Yeah, and especially the perseverance and tenacity to just keep going, even when it seemed, I'm glad it didn't seem as weird and crazy to me as it did to everybody else. It seemed so crystal clear why I should be here, but I realized at the time people must have, and I know they were, sort of going, the hell is this boy doing here? This is crazy. He's crazy, I'm glad I didn't know that at the time, because I felt really comfortable here and like I should be. It just took years and years and years of chipping away to finally figure out how to fit in and not lose myself. That was the balancing act that took the longest to figure out.
To walk through all three pretty quickly, like best new artist, you're that guy. Does that change you? Does it change how people treat you in town after you get the trophy, the award?
A little, just more in awareness, that's all, in potential. Like, got a little potential,
Male vocalist?
Oh man, that was a shock. That was a shock.
Why? I believe you when you said that. Like,
yeah.
Why?
Because I've never seen myself. I guess I'm so singer-guitar oriented that to think of my vocal as being a independent, singular thing, I've never given. I just didn't see myself in that category.
So when you're nominated, do you feel like you're just not going to win? Like, this is cool to be nominated?
Yeah.
And then when they called your name, it was a genuine shock?
Yeah, and especially because historically, you get nominated, and then you get nominated the next year, and if you're lucky, the year after that, and then eventually they give it to you, because you've been nominated so many times. So to get nominated and win it is a big shock.
The big one's entertainer.
Yeah.
I think if all the voters saw you perform every night, I don't know who else would have won in the last 20 years. Like, to watch it, or I guess your shows are I think I told you the first time I saw you do a real show, I was like, oh, I'm blown away. Because I'd heard you play, and I've seen you play intimately, and I've seen you play on my show, but to watch a full, like, arena performance, I was blown away, and I'm jaded. And I remember telling you that, like, I think this is a compliment, but you're awesome. I had no idea, like, how enthralled I would be, the people around me would be, to watch you embrace the crowd, to get very personal, to get within the crowd, all the energy. So I feel like you'd be Entertainer of the Year every year if everybody had to go and watch you perform. But to finally be acknowledged for that, the big one. Tell me about that.
Oh, I mean, that's, it's the top of the mountain in award recognition. Yeah, it's, especially for me, because I love to do it more than anything in the world. I love to play live, and I love to play with an audience. I love to entertain. I'm not a shoegazer. I love to entertain.
I'm a shoegazer though, but in a different way. I think we're both shoegazers, just in a different way than you mean that. Because you guys, I think maybe 1A, 1B, when it comes to shoes, I think you and I are kind of rocking the whole town. I don't ever see you not in great shoes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or a great car.
Likewise.
Yeah. I remember once.
It's your fancy kicks.
Look, and we'll end on a very music-based story. One of my favorite Keith Urban stories is there's this big truck behind me, big, like right on my butt. And I'm like, I'm about to get beat up. Whoever this is, I'm about to get beat up. And it was you. And we were going to the Opry. It was during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And you were in this big truck. I didn't know it was you. I didn't think you'd be in a truck. I thought you'd be in like a, I don't know, helicopter or something. You know, you're Keith Urban.
I think it was an F-350.
It was a monster, but I thought I'm about to get beat up by whomever's behind me because we're going down that part of the Opry that's like when no one else can drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, hey. I was like, oh man, thank God. But you're a car guy.
I love cars.
Yeah.
Well, my dad loved cars, so I grew up with. My whole life we're the oddball couple, the oddball family in Australia that always had American cars. In this tiny little town we lived in Australia, we had like Chevys and Pontiacs and Buicks and, you know.
Can you fix a car? Like, chink, chink. Can you fix it?
No, I wish I could. It's just, it's the driving aspect. I mean, my passion next to music is driving. I drive all the time, and when I'm touring, I'll rent a car. If we're gonna get from a hotel to the venue, I'd rather rent a car and drive it myself. I hate being driven.
Final question, because I know how much you value the people that come to your live shows, and you put so much work into the live shows. Talk to me about a set list and the art of your set list and how you put together a night.
I probably obsess over it way too much, a set list. Because it's an experience. I mean, it's not a group of songs. I'm shaping an experience that I want to create for those 2 hours for the audience. And I'm trying to guess, will this have that effect? And if we go from here into here, will that do this? Will this be about the time that the audience would want that? That should be right. And then we would be able to do this after that because that would make sense. And trying to create it's a playlist, you know, trying to create a great playlist for a 2-hour party.
You were closing your eyes as you were even talking me through it. Is that an every night thing where you're changing it or changing it based on how you felt the night before?
I've learned that it's a delicate balance of don't take too much data from that night because that was that night in that venue in that town. And if you go tinkering too much because of that feedback, this audience could be completely different. So just do it enough where at some point the set list becomes pretty solid for me. You know, I'm always going to make quarterback calls because I can't do the exact same thing night after night after night. I couldn't do it. It'd be like an episode of Severance or something. I can't do it.
Going back out on the road again?
Yeah. The High and Alive World Tour is going to kick off. Got a predominantly new band, obviously new songs to put in there, and brand new production, working with a production designer I've never worked with before, and just trying to create a whole brand new experience.
What does a production designer do with you? I don't know that process.
Just the look of the stage, you know, and for me, what the lighting's going to do, what the video aspect's going to do, what the physical environment of the stage is going to be, what's the material that we're going to be standing on, and the durability of it, and the color of it, and all this stuff, so that when you walk in, it has a very particular look about it.
Other than the music rehearsal part, is there a timing rehearsal part with the videos, the elements that you're putting into the show?
Yeah, it's tricky for me because I have a lot of spontaneity. So even with tracks, if we've got backing tracks on certain things that might be just percussion, there may be percussion components that the band is playing along with, but I may not want to do that exact arrangement tonight. So, you know, our track guy knows how to move things in real time, and the video guys are getting really good at knowing how to move things in real time too, and swap songs around and be on the fly.
By getting really good at it, that means being forced to, because you're like, I'm changing this, and so they just have to roll with it, right?
It's great. I love that kind of just that spontaneity. It keeps everybody on edge. Like nobody can get up, nobody in the band or in the crew can just be like, you know, like you're on because you don't know what's going to happen next. And I love those kinds of shows. You can feel that kind of energy in the audience that especially when you go into like a spontaneous thing, a guitar solo or some moment, breakdown moment or something musically, and the band's like, I don't know what's happening, what's going on, and you're like, I don't know either. Here we are, but we're doing it. The audience feel that. They don't have to be musical. They just go, what is going on? What's this energy that's happening right now? And it's just unpredictability.
So keep the band scared. That's the advice.
It's
keep your
exactly
band
it.
scared
That's
at
it.
any time.
Keep them on their toes, yeah.
I really appreciate you having me out. Thank you. Thanks for showing me the place. And,
Yeah, thank you.
Always inspired by how you're so inspired. That's a weird thing to say, but that's the truth.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm inspired by how you stay so inspired. So, yeah, thanks for having us out.
Anytime, Bobby.